Hey guys, it's Jess, and this video is immediately following my previous video. I had to split it up into two parts because it can be so long, but you do not need to watch the previous video in order to understand what's going on with this video in this story. They're really kind of two separate stories that just happen to happen at the same time, period, roughly. So, this all really started about 2 months ago while my roommates were on vacation and I was home with the doggies and the kitties and all that stuff. While there a few times while they were gone, I noticed Dozer, who is an older guy, he just had a couple of kind of strange little episodes where, like one time he just, fell over in the kitchen, but I thought maybe Cosmo had, knocked him over, because it was on the slippery floor, and he's arthritic and everything, and, Cosmo had been right there, and I wasn't exactly looking when he fell. I just, I heard him fall, and I looked down, and, there he is on the floor, he's on his side, and, flailing around, and I figured he was just having a hard time getting himself up, because he's arthritic and stiff and everything, and so, I helped him up, and he was good. And there was a couple other, kind of similar episodes, he fell off the couch a couple times, and that, that kind of continued to happen. Just here and there over, while the guys were gone, not very often at all, and kind of slowly over the course of the next, 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months or so, it slowly got, more and more frequent. And so a week ago today, this past Friday before Memorial Day weekend, I was home with Dozer like I usually am, and he was having, lots of these episodes, and, it was so weird, just lots of them were going on, and so, I texted my roommates, and I was like, he's having a lot of these, more than I have ever seen, this is really weird, and it's, kind of starting to freak me out, and so luckily, our vet's office is open on Saturdays, so they were able to get him an appointment for Saturday, and they took him in, and the vet diagnosed him with small seizures. She didn't think that in any way, they were really hurting him. He probably, didn't even realize, you don't realize anything is going on when you're having a seizure. Ask me how I know. But they're real small. They only last maybe, up to that point, we'd only seen them last maybe 20, 30 seconds tops. Not very long at all, and not severe. He would just kind of stiffen up, and, maybe his paws would twitch, or sometimes he'd be, doing, a swimming motion, if he, actually fell over. So the doctor put him on some medication and said, it'll take a little while for it to build up in his system to a therapeutic dose. But, in the meantime, she wasn't too worried about it because they were so small and they weren't happening, even though that Friday he'd had quite a few of them, they weren't back to back to back to back, they'd be spaced out over a period of time. And so we wasn't too concerned about it, and so he started medication, came home, no big deal. So then on Sunday, I ended up going to the emergency room and then getting admitted to the hospital, which is all covered in the previous video. And so I kind of wasn't at home when it really hit the fan for poor D-Dog. But Sunday night going into Monday morning, he was just having tons of seizures. He would have one, like a minute or two later, he'd have another one, and just repeat for like hours. Okay, so my roommates took him into the emergency vet that's closest to our house, and they're amazing. We've had to take animals in there before. They're really good. And so they put him on basically what amounts to like doggy Valium. It's a class of medication that's a benzo, and so it's really, I'm gonna move the camera a little bit. It's really sedating. I know in people they use it kind of as like an emergency anticonvulsant, like if somebody's having a seizure that just won't stop. And so they put him on that, and then I would get updates here and there while I was in the hospital from my roommates about how he was doing. Everything seemed to be, all right. He's, Valium and that kind of class of medication makes you pretty dopey. So he was like dopey and everything, but, the seizures stopped. And from everything they told me, that he was doing pretty good besides just being stoned. And so, cool. I got home on Wednesday night, and so that was just like very exciting for him. And like Cosmo was extremely excited to see me, and everything. So there was like a lot going on Wednesday evening. And so he had a few seizures like Wednesday night, but we think a lot of it was just like excitement / stress because so much was going on, but he couldn't really process it all that great because he was so stoned. So, the guys filled me in about, his medication, when he needs to take it, what, had been going on with him, blah, 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 what to watch out for, all these things like that. And I felt totally comfortable staying home with him yesterday, which is Thursday, watching him and taking care of him and stuff. And I figured, we would just have a lazy day of taking our meds and resting and working on getting better. That's not really how it turned out. He started vomiting at about 10:30 in the morning and just continued to vomit throughout the day. And like what he was throwing up was his dinner from Wednesday night, and it was like undigested, like it had literally just been sitting in his stomach not doing anything the entire time. And it got to the point where he started throwing up bile because there was just nothing left, and he was so out of it. And he was just like, I think because like he had been given his meds while he had like no food absorbed into his system, it hit him so hard that he was just so out of it. Plus he's throwing up and being nauseous and not feeling good and weak from not having any calories for so long. Luckily he was drinking water, so that was good. If he hadn't been drinking water, I would have taken him into the vet, like, as an emergency, like, he needs to be dealt with immediately. But, I was keeping the guys updated throughout the day, and I was just like, this is not okay, you guys. He can't keep anything down. He needs to be seen. He needs help, and we decided not to give him his afternoon dose of the doggy Valium, because like I said again, I probably would have had to fight him to get him to take it anyway, just because he'd been thrown up. He didn't want to eat anything. but also, being that he had had nothing stay down for almost 24 hours at this point, it would have hit him so hard that I wasn't comfortable giving it to him. And so, but my roommate got an a vet appointment for him at 4:30. So, I had to, and I totally didn't mind doing this. In the state that he was in, he was sicker than I am at that point, and he just needed help. And I was the one that was home, and I was going to help him. I didn't care. He was going to help. Whatever I needed to do to help him, it was going to happen. Okay, so I was not able to take my pain medication in the afternoon so that I would be able to drive and be able to go pick up my roommate at the bus station, and then we would get Dozer into the vet. So that's what happened. He was so weak by the time it was time to leave the house that I had to carry him into my car. And I felt so bad for him at that point. And he's so miserable. And you could tell in his face that he was just looking at me going please help me, So go get my roommate, and we rush off to the vet. And our vet there's different doctors in there, but we have a couple that are our favorites. Yesterday we saw the owner of the clinic, and he's like an older gentleman, has lots of experience, has seen all kinds of things. And so we really went over the medications that he's on, the dosing, the scheduling, all that. He had a lot of good information to give us. I felt much more comfortable about everything after having talked to him and getting my questions answered, just because I know, even though he's not my dog, I am extremely, medically savvy, just from my own experience. And, obviously I am up on epilepsy, and I had been reading about doggy epilepsy and how it's treated, and it's very similar to people epilepsy. And so I felt like I had a good understanding of it in general, but I really felt like the dose of the doggy Valium was just too much, because he was just so, he was not on earth. It was bad. You guys, it was so bad, and I was just like, it wouldn't be okay to have a person in this state for so long. It's not okay for him. It's just not fair, and the doggy Valium the plan has always been, it's going to be temporary until the first medication can really build up in his system enough to hopefully control the seizures. So like I said, we had skipped his afternoon dose of the doggy Valium, and while we were at the vet, he perked up, because it was kind of working out of his system, I guess, a little bit, and he hadn't had any seizures all day. And my camera said something weird, so I had to stop for a second. Anyway, hadn't had any seizures all day, and while we were at the vet, he perked up and was wandering around the room, wanting to check things out, and I started to cry just because I was so happy to see him like that. He wasn't completely back to being himself, he was still a little kind of slow and wobbly, but he would respond to his name. He was, checking things out, sniffing around. And so it was decided that we should lower his dose of the doggy Valium He got some medication for nausea. Right there, he got an injection, and then we also got some pills to bring home just to have on hand in case. But I was so relieved to see him acting more like himself. And I started to cry right there because I was just like, I was so happy and so relieved to see him perking up. And so we got him home, and he just kind of laid around for a little while, and we gave him some time to allow the anti-nausea drug to kind of kick in. And by the time I went to bed, I was so exhausted. I went to bed a little early. But by the time I went to bed, he had started eating. So that was a great sign that he was getting some calories and things. And today he's been a lot better. He's still more perked up. Still not quite back to himself, which unfortunately he's not going to be there 100% until we can fully, get him off of this stuff. But he went out and was kind of exploring the yard, kind of grumbled at Cosmo a little bit when Cosmo kind of got into his bubble, which is totally him. He's an old man. He's like, get off my lawn, kids, and stuff. And, he went outside for a little while and just sat in the sun, which he likes to do. Probably feels good on his old arthritic doggy bones. And he's just been much more himself. Still resting a lot. I'm going to move you so I can show you. There he is. So today we are actually having our restful healing day that we wanted yesterday, but he's doing so much better today. So yeah, that was the story of what's been going on this week with him, and things are definitely looking better for him and for me. We're having a much better time of it today. I'm so happy. And so yeah, that is it. I will update you on his progress, and please just kind of maybe keep him in your thoughts a little bit, that these seizures can be gotten under control and not interfere with his life too much. So I will see you guys later, and have a wonderful day and coming weekend. Bye.